Hi everyone! How are you? I am April Davis with April Davis Creations, and I'm an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up, and I live in Spring Hill, Kansas. And today is Tuesday, December 16th. It's time for my 2 p.m. Facebook Live to Go class. I have been absent the last week because I was traveling for fun. We took a trip to Europe. It started out in Prague and then moved to Vienna and boarded a riverboat and went up the Danube River. And it was a fabulous trip. We visited many Christmas markets, and it just was a great way to ring in the Christmas season, if you will. And I think about it now, there's so much going on between now and Christmas that I can't believe that I've only just got a few days to get ready. But I was so excited to be back here with all of you because I missed you. So if you are joining me, let me know, say hello, where you're joining from. I'm double checking to make sure I've gone live, and I have, so that's great. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on announcements today because the projects that I've got are going to take me just a little bit of time. But the one thing that I did want to share with you is the special that we've got going on right now. And this is going to be a regular monthly thing. So let me see if I can do this. I'm going to continue to join you, and I'm going to switch screens. And I just want to talk about the product of the month special that we've got going on. So Stampin' Up is going to start doing a product of the month every month. We don't know what the product of the month is until it's time. So it's usually the first couple, 2 or 3 days into the month. So this month it happens to be the True Blue Florals. It's a designer series paper. And you can get your product of the month for $5 with a qualifying order of $75. So if you're at, the $50, $60 mark and you're thinking, I really want that designer series paper for $5, then you can go ahead and find, I don't know, some adhesive or something to add to your order so that you can get this product. And I wanted to share with you the paper because I got my product in, and it's so pretty. It's True Blue Florals, obviously, so you can see it. It kind of reminds me a little bit of a wallpaper maybe, but look how pretty the back is for this and how well everything coordinates. So this is one two-sided piece, and then we've got some more with some, it looks like Secret Sea mixed in with this. How pretty is that? And then this is more like maybe Night of Navy with some maybe cloud cover or something lighter, maybe Misty Moonlight. And then a lighter color on the back here with such pretty blue florals. And we've got this one with the Misty Moonlight, I think, and Night of Navy. And then look at this one. Wow, so pretty. Okay, and then we have this one. Again, your blues. So I haven't had a chance to create with this yet. I just got home on Sunday, so I'm still playing catch up. But I'm looking forward to being able to play with this paper and create some cards. And what's really fun is that Stampin' Up is giving us some ideas as to different cards that we can make with this paper as well. And I'm sure that there's going to be more out there. So as we as demonstrators get our paper, or even you as customers, if you're not a demonstrator but you wanted the designer series paper, share your cards with us that you've utilized to create with this paper, because this paper is just gorgeous. I'm going to switch over to see if I can see any comments coming through. All right, let me move this out of the way so that I can get to our projects. Let me see, which way do I want to go? Maybe this way. I've got lots of stuff out. So today we're going to be utilizing the Snowy Delights stamp set. And it's actually a bundle because it comes with the stamps and it also comes with the dies. And you can make snowflakes with these, and then there's another big die for snowflakes. So fun. But I thought, since I've been doing a lot of Christmas, that it might be fun to start doing some things for not necessarily the holidays, but for winter. So we've got January and February and kind of into March. Spring tries to peek through in March, but I remember some big snowstorms in March too. So anyway, I thought that the Snowy Delights stamp set would be a fun stamp set to utilize. And the cards that we're going to be creating are fun too. So here's one that I've created. Hi, Gayla. Thanks for joining and saying hello. So here's one. Here is a second one, and I'm going to show you how to utilize the tools that come with this, because not only do you get the stamp set and the dies, but when you get the bundle, you also, let me pull these out because I keep them in my stamp set, you have masks or stencils, whichever you prefer to call them. And I think, what does Stampin' Up call them? They call them masks. They're decorative masks. So I'm gonna pull these out because we're gonna be utilizing these. And then of course the stamps and the dies. And then the last card we're gonna make, I'm gonna incorporate some of that blue, and I'm gonna actually take myself down. Let me see if I can do this so that I'm not in your way. But we're going to use some blues for this card. So we're gonna have a lot of fun. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start with this, and I wasn't using traditional colors. So the first one we're using Strawberry Slush, we're using Calypso Coral, we're using Flirty Flamingo, and we're using Petal Pink. So let me bring the kit in just so that I can show you. We've got some basic white. I've got a Calypso Coral layer. I've got a Flirty Flamingo layer. I've already gone ahead and die cut the Snowflake. This is in Strawberry Slush. And then I'm going to show you what we're going to do with this. So this is what the piece that we're going to be stenciling on. And I need one more piece. Let me see. I've got some basic white over here that I keep just in case it didn't get into my kit. So here we go. I've got another piece here. Okay, so let's go ahead and we're going to get started with the stenciling. And then we'll start to build the card after that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in some scratch paper. Probably one piece will be enough. I'm going to bring in some scratch paper, and I have my blending brushes ready to go. I've got them all set out here. And when I use my blending brushes, I don't have a separate blending brush for every single color. I do it in color families. So my darker blues, I'll be utilizing brushes that have the dark blues on it. The lighter blues have the light, the pink, so on and so forth. So I just do them in color blending or color families, so to speak. So let me bring in and show you these masks. These masks, I don't know if you can see or not. I'm going to try to do this so you guys can see, but they're numbered. So this is mask number 4. We've got mask number 3 here, mask number 2. Let me see. And then we've got mask number 1. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start with mask number 1. And I am actually going to, I'm not going to use that piece. I'm going to use, give me just a second. I got to get the right size. Let's see. Hold on, guys. This is partly what happens when I'm gone for a while. I designed these cards before I went out of town, and now I feel like I need to do a little bit of cutting because I don't think these are the right size, or maybe it is the right size. Yes, it is the right size. All right. And in my to-go class, you'll get a kit to make 2 of each card. So you'll have a total to make 6 cards, and there'll be a tutorial that will have all of the dimensions and everything that you need. So let me go ahead and move this out of the way again, and I'm going to go ahead and put this piece of paper down, and we're going to stencil over the top of it. And actually what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be moving it around. So typically what I would suggest you do, and I may do it with some others that I'm working on, but basically there's this little diamond or a little cutout up here. I don't know if you guys can see it. There it is. So what you can do is you can mark your paper. I'm not going to do this on this one because I'm moving these around. We're stenciling a number of things. But you can take and put like a little mark there. So when you bring your next stencil in, you can just line that back up. Okay, but I am going to wing it on this one in particular because I am actually stenciling several snowflakes on here. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start with my lightest color, which is my Petal Pink. And I'm just going to hold my stencil in place or my mask in place, and then I'll work to line it up. So I'm going to go ahead and maybe line it up about right here, perhaps. Try to get this over just a little bit. And there's no rhyme or reason. This card's probably not going to look identical to my last card, and part of the reason for that is when you're doing things like stenciling, you know, each card is going to be just a little bit different. But basically what I'm doing is I'm rubbing my brush into my ink, and then what I can do is I can tap off. So if I did have a second sheet of scrap paper, and I'll just bring that in, I could stamp off on my, or tap off on my glass mat as well, but I'm just going to use scrap paper that I've got here. So I can tap this off just a little bit. I'm going to hold this in place, and I'm just going to start to blend. So fun, so easy, and I'm just going to blend. You can go as dark as you want or as light as you want, but I'm going to start with my lighter color, and I'm just going to blend this around. And then if I want a little bit more color, I can tap it in my ink. I'm going to tap that off just a little bit. I'm always starting off on my stencil so that I don't get too much color down. Okay, so we've got that one. So I'm going to pull this one off, and you can see how that's working. And then I'm going to turn my stencil, and I'm going to put some more color right here. So let's do that. So starting off, I'm going to come in and color up here. The fun part about stenciling as well is that there's no right or wrong to it at all. So, excuse me, I'm going to lay this up here. We're going to do this again, and then we'll go to our next color. So again, starting off, I'm going to go ahead and blend this. So really what I'm trying to do with this particular card is I'm making it look like the snow is falling. And so that's why I have several different snowflakes that kind of lifted up just a little bit. So I'll go ahead and get that down again. And there we go. So we've got that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this off to the side. I'm going to bring in stencil number 2. I'm going to change colors, and I'm going to work with my Flirty Flamingo. So I'm going to bring it in, and Flirty Flamingo is just a little bit darker. So I'm going to bring in a brush that's darker, and if you are concerned about the colors, you can basically take a paper towel and just wipe it off. I tend to use up most of the ink, and when I'm finished, I try to wipe my ink off so I'm not putting my brushes away. They're stained, but they don't necessarily have ink. This particular stencil is pretty easy to line up, so I'm going to go ahead and get it lined up here. Let me get some ink on here. This is the one that I just, hold on. Nope, we got it. Okay, so I'm gonna line this up again, and I'm looking at the center. So I've got this lined up. Starting off again, we're gonna go ahead and just add our color. It's very relaxing too. I love just being able to do this, but you can kind of see how this is starting to work out. So now I'm going to go ahead and get this one lined up. There we go. I'm just going to tap that in there, tap it off. Go ahead and get some color down here. So I'm doing pretty good with the, gosh, I can't think of the word that I want to use now. With the jet lag. The jet lag going over was really hard because we got there in the morning after traveling for, oh my goodness, 19, 20 hours. We had to go through Amsterdam. So we went from Kansas City to Detroit, Detroit to Amsterdam, and Amsterdam to Prague. So it was a long, long night of travel, if you will. We started out early in the morning, but we got into Prague in the morning. And of course you don't want to go to sleep, right? Because then if we decided to go to sleep, then we would not have been able to sleep at night. So we stayed up, and boy, that was hard. And I still, even after all of that, I still found myself wanting to be awake at 2 and 3 in the morning. Coming back wasn't so hard. We got home Sunday about 7:30 or so. I'm getting ready to switch stencils. So we've got stencil number 3. I'm going to do a lineup again. And I'm just basically focusing on the centers when I can see the centers and get those lined up. And I'm switching, so I'm going to bring out a different brush. I'm switching to Calypso Coral. And I don't remember what I was saying about the jet lag, so. Coming home. We got home about 7:30, and we spent some time with our house sitter. She was leaving the next morning, and so we spent a little bit of time with her, just catching up with her, and then went to bed probably sometime between 10 and 10:30, and I slept through the night, and I slept like a baby, so it was fun. Look how pretty this is starting to turn out. I love this. All right, let's move this one down. I'm lining it up again right here. I'm just twisting and turning it. This one's really easy to line up. So let me go ahead. And if it's off just a little bit, it just adds interest, I think. So I'm not too worried about it. All right, there we go. We've got a little bit of darkness there. And then I'm going to go ahead and get this one lined up. Let's see. This one's a little bit harder because I don't have a center. So I'm looking to do, is this right? Let's see. I'm just kind of looking to see how I did this. I think like this. I think that looks good. I think I've got enough ink on here. I can go ahead and finish this one up. There we go. All right, one more, and I'm going to bring in the strawberry slush now. So I'm going to go ahead and close this up. I'm going to bring back in my pink brush. And the strawberry slush is the darker of the two that I was using, so I'm not worried about it at all. So I'm going to go ahead and get this in. And let me see. This is the stencil we're using now. So again, I'm going to try to line up in the center. It's not quite as pronounced as it was before. So I need to kind of look here to see what I'm doing. And like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect, but the little dots are going up the stems of the snowflake, if you will, the snowflake stems. That's what I'm calling them. Okay, so let me move this again because I moved the stencil. Get it back in the center again. And again, if you don't want to wing it, you certainly can do the little markings like I did. This one is the only one that I'm doing like this, so I can show you how to do it going forward. I just wanted to have several snowflakes on this particular card. So I'm doing my strawberry slush now. Okay, there you go. Isn't that pretty? I love that. Okay, let me see. Little dots right along here. So we'll get those lined up. Pretty much like that, I think. So I'm going to go ahead, since I don't have a free hand, I'm going to tap this off a little bit. And then I'm starting off. We'll get these down. Okay. And then one more. I'll get those lined up. And we will be done with the inking part of this. Then what we're going to do is we're going to move on to the sentiment, because I'm going to show you how to use the die that comes with this to do the sentiment. All right, getting this lined up. That looks good. I'm going to reach over, grab some ink, come back down, make sure I don't move my stencil, and then start off. It's fun to use non-traditional colors. I think that's one of the fun parts of being creative, is that you can just pick whatever colors you want to pick. I could have, you know, this color of snowflake. I could have a green snowflake. I'm going to have a blue snowflake. But how fun is that? So we've got this main piece done. Let me move my brushes out of the way. And the next thing we're going to do is, let me do this while I'm thinking about it, because I'm going to need this again for my next card. So let me just show you. Normally what you would do is you would just run these stencils underwater and they clean up so easy. I'm going to go ahead and use my chamois that I use for my glass mat, because I want to get these cleaned up because I've got more to show you. So that cleans up very easy. Put them off to the side here so they can dry up a little bit while I'm working on the rest of the card. So we've got that. I've also got a paper towel here if I want to take the paper towel to it. But this is just easy cleaning for me right now while I continue to create these cards. All right, one more, and then we can go move into the sentiment. All right, so we've got that. Moving those off to the side. I'm going to put this back in my chamois case so that I don't have to worry about it. And then I'm going to use my paper towel, and I'm just going to wipe this off. All right, so everything's all cleaned up. We're ready to move on. All right, so I'm going to stamp for my sentiment. I'm going to stamp a winter wish for snowy delights. And my paper that I had here is over here. Let me grab it. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. And this is a photopolymer mat. So I want to go ahead and stamp on some sort of a cushion. I'm reaching over here to get my silicone mat because it will provide a little bit of cushion. I just feel like when I'm stamping on a hard surface, I'm not sure that I get a good connection. I see lots of demonstrators do that, but my preference is just to be able to do this and have a little bit of a cushion. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna stamp this in the strawberry slush. So let's go ahead and get that done. And I'm just gonna go ahead and do it from this perspective. And you can see I really hit it hard, but I'm gonna cut this out. So hopefully if I go straight down and straight up, I'm not gonna have to worry about getting any ink where it's not supposed to be, because when you get ink on your block, you potentially can get it on your card as well. So let's go ahead and close that up. I'm gonna clean this off really quickly. I've got another chamois over here that I'll just give this a quick swipe and get that cleaned up, and then we don't have to worry about it. And the nice thing about the chamois is I can pick them up and get them where they need to clean as well. All right, so ready to go. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut this out. Now I'm using a die that came with this bundle, but you can see if I pull it out that it's not quite the right size, not quite. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna bring in some tape just so that I can hold this die in place. I'm gonna center this the best I can. I'm gonna use my G's because they come down, so I want to make sure that I've got them aligned. And I'm just gonna come out to the very edge, and I'm gonna tape this down so it stays in place. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my snips. I want to go ahead and I'm gonna use my mini cut and emboss. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut this off so that I'm not dealing with such a big piece. And this is one of those where normally I can shorten my sentiment with the die. This time I'm going to increase my sentiment with the die. So what you want to do is you don't want to cut here, right? Because if you cut here, then it's going to cut off your wording. So you want to stop somewhere in the middle, as close to the middle as you can. And the way you're going to do that is you're going to have your die hang off the edge of the plate. And this is a little one, so I'm going to work it this way. I'm going to get this stuck in here, and then it's hanging off the edge of the plate, and then I'm going to crank this through. And where it's cranking through, anywhere that's not on the plate is not going to cut. So we've got that through. So I'm going to pull this out. I'm going to pull this off. Got to take my tape off. And you can see now that I've cut just basically halfway. And I'm going to have to do a little bit of finagling here because I probably should have cut it just a little bit further. The reason I know that is when I line this up, it's not connecting there, it's curving there. So what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put this back in, and you can take the die and you can kind of fit it back into where you were at before. So I'm doing this. I didn't do it on purpose, but I'm doing it so that you guys can see how to fix it. So what I'm going to do, as long as I'm on the straight edge and not the curve, I'm going to be okay. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hang that over again, hopefully bring it out just a little bit further, crank this through, and see if I can extend that just a little bit. Pull this through. All right, pull this off. There we go. So I was able to extend that just a little bit. So now what I can do is I can line this up, get it to fit into that track. I'm going to come down a little bit further so that I make sure that my R is going to be here. And we're going to line this up. And I just have to do a little bit of finagling to get that to click in. Because we are dealing with, this is one of the harder ones to do just because of the curve on it, but I think we'll be fine once I get it lined up. And it's not moving, so I feel like I've got it lined up. I'm going to put this back down again, and this time I'm going to do the same thing, only I'm going to turn it around because again, I don't want to cut this edge, right? If I cut this edge, I'm cutting into my wording. So I'm going to put this in, I'm going to line it up right about here. Hopefully I'm getting it just far enough that when I crank this through, I'm going to go ahead and do this. Whoop, it's through. Move this out of the way. And at the very least, I'll have to do just a little bit of cutting, but I think we should be okay, perhaps. Okay, yes, I'm going to have to do just a tiny bit. All right, let me pull this off. There we go. And you can see it's attached right here and right here. This die was barely big enough for me to be able to do that, but all I have to do is snip here and snip here. And now I've extended the die so that it fits my sentiment. You can also do this if you're trying to shorten. All right, so let me put this back and we're going to work on the snowflake. I'm going to move this off to the side. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is when you look at this snowflake, the die for this snowflake cuts everything out. I wanted a solid back, so I can't get a solid back with this die, right? So what I did is I took a piece of scrap paper, and let me see, do I have a pencil here? I prefer to use a pencil. Maybe over here. Yeah, I have a pencil here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trace around this star, and I'm just going to cut it out. So, and honestly, I can cut to the inside of the pencil mark because I just need enough of the star to be able to attach it to the back of my strawberry slush star. So let me go ahead and get this traced. It's not a perfect star, it's okay. I just need it to be able to fit. So I'm going to go to the inside just a tad on this. It's not even fussy cutting, it's just trying to get this shape, and then I can do some trimming if I need to do some trimming. I might not have to, but just in case, I can do some trimming. Okay, almost there. Almost there. Okay, so let's start with this. And basically what I want to do is I want to line it up back behind and glue it down. Now, I need to do some aligning to make sure I get it aligned correctly. And I think this is probably where I want to go. And you can see I need to do some trimming. So I'm going to trim on these 3 sides. Just go in a little bit. Down here. It's not perfect. I just really want to get it aligned so that I can have a backing behind this. And this is how I'm going to attach my snowflake to this. All right, let's get it lined up. Keep twisting. You would think that it would be the same on all edges, but it really isn't, which is interesting. Okay, it looks like I need to do a little bit more trimming here. So I'm going to go ahead and do this one. Nobody's going to see this part. All right, let's try one more time. See if we got it this time. Isn't that funny? I feel like my star, the backing star, just keeps growing and growing, and even after I trim it down. All right, let's see. Are we almost there? A couple more trims on these 2 edges, and I think we'll be good. So I'm going to go from this edge and go this way this time. So that edge, and then I think this edge. All right, one more time. I say that, hopefully. Isn't that interesting? Okay. There we go. Now we have it. Okay, so I don't want to mess this up. I'm going to leave my star like that. I'm going to turn this over, and basically I'm just going to take my glue and I'm just going to do dots of glue along this part. Because I'm going to glue it down. And then, like I said, this will give me then the opportunity to adhere it to my card. All right, so that's the top. I'm going to line this up. Hopefully I didn't, there we go. And because I used glue, I can kind of slide it into place. Perfect. But now I have a solid background. Let me slide this again. This kind of slid a little bit. Come on, slide, slide, slide. Slide, slide, slide. I don't want to have to trim you. Okay, I'm going to trim you just a little bit because the glue adhered. I was just using little bits and it already adhered. So we'll go ahead and trim this in just a tiny bit. All right, I think we're good. Okay, so now we've got this piece. All right, let me move this out of the way. I'm going to bring the card base back in and we are going to start to put this together. So, all these layers and this card base, which is right here. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just adhere the layers. And my Flirty Flamingo is going to go on top of my Calypso Coral. So we'll get that down. And then I can just slide this into place. Got a tiny bit of glue right here. I'm just going to wipe it off. All right, and then we're going to adhere this piece to here. I really like this color combination. It was fun. All right, There we go, we've got that. Now what we can do is we can take our base, our card base, I'm gonna fold it over and take my bone folder and go ahead and burnish that so that I can get this layer onto my card base. You don't have to use as many layers as I'm using. I just opted to do that because these were the colors that I was utilizing in the snowflakes. And so I just wanted to kind of tie everything together. So let me get this aligned. Scooch this over a tiny bit. Scooch this down. Okay, so we've got that. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my sentiment and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put my sentiment down here. I'm popping my snowflake up, so I'm going to keep my sentiment flat. You could, if you wanted to, pop up your sentiment. I just have opted not to, so that the snowflake is basically the star. But I'm going to just go ahead and align this just along the bottom, not even with the bottom, but just really close to the bottom. Now I'm going to reach over here and grab some dimensionals, and we'll put some dimensionals on the back of my snowflake. So let me grab these, and I'm going to put them right here. I'm going to basically put it at each of the star angle points. You wouldn't need to use as many, but I want this stability for this snowflake. And then the rest of the snowflake is going to hang off. If you wanted to, you could take some little pieces of dimensionals and adhere those, but I didn't want to mess with those little pieces, so I'm just going to let them float, if you will. So we'll do this, getting all my backings off. And I'm double checking. Oh, I've got one more. Okay. Now what we'll do is we'll take the snowflake and we're going to, I'm just going to adhere it to my, let's see how I want it to go. Down here a little bit. I'm okay if it's over my sentiment a little bit. But how pretty is that? So, so pretty. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take these 2025-27 in color flat pearls. And I'm obviously going to use the strawberry slush ones. And let me use my take your pick. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put one in the center. I put a big one in the center last time. I think I'm going to put a medium-sized one in the center this time. So I'm going to put one in the center there. And then we'll go ahead and we'll put a few more of these around the card. So I've got one here. I'm going to actually use my putty end. I feel like that's going to work better for me. So I'll put one here, and then we'll put a couple down at the bottom over here. So I'm going to put one here, and we'll do a little one right here. Move these out of the way. And we have completed card number 1. How pretty is that? All right, let's move on to, oh, you know what? The one thing that I didn't do, I was gonna move on. I'm not gonna do it on this one, so we can move on to the next one, but I will do it on the next one. But basically, I don't know if you can see or not, I'm trying to get a good, see the sparkle? So I took Wink of Stella and did it on just the snowflake itself and made it shiny. This one doesn't have the Wink of Stella. This one does have the Wink of Stella. Both of them are pretty, so it's whatever your choice is. I just felt like I wanted my snowflake to sparkle, but we'll do that on the next one. All right, so let me move that out of the way. And our next one is the blue. And we've got Misty Moonlight. Then I have a layer that was done with an embossing folder. Let me see if I can show it to you. See if you can see it. See the snowflakes on it? This particular embossing folder is Winter Snow. It's a retired embossing folder. So hopefully, perhaps you have an embossing folder that's got some snowflakes in your stash. If not, your layer will be embossed with the kit. So I will be embossing your layer with the kit. But sometimes it's nice to be able to bring out product that I've got in my stash that I haven't gotten rid of because I love it so much. And I just thought that this was perfect for this particular card. So I've got that layer, and then I've got a second layer of Misty Moonlight. I've got a layer that I'm going to be stamping on and stenciling on. So let's go ahead and move this off to the side for the moment. And we're going to go ahead and stencil. So I'm going to get my scrap papers out again. And I'm going to bring my stencils in. And I'm thinking it looks like I used all of the colors. So the colors that I utilized for this particular snowflake, I used Balmy Blue, Misty Moonlight, Night of Navy, and Secret Sea. So I'm going to start with the lighter of the colors, and I'm looking at my numbers. This is number 1. I've got 2. Where's my number 3? Oh, number 3 is right here. No, this is 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so this one, I'm going to show you how you can do it to keep everything in place and make it simpler for you. So I'm going to take some tape. I'm just going to use my mint tape. So I'm going to tape my paper down just so that it stays in place. But I'm not going to tape it down anywhere that I feel like it's going to be in the way of my stencil. And then I'll just do this little corner. And then what I can do is I can take my stencil. So this is number 1. And I want this one hanging off as well. I'm just doing it in the upper right hand corner, so to speak. So let me see, probably bring it down because I need to have room for my sentiment. So let's see, maybe right here. Let me look. I've got my sentiment right here. I'm just going to look to see, do I have room for it? Absolutely, I do. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take my pen and I'm going to go ahead and make my little mark up here. So this is where all my stencils will line up. And if you wanted to, you could actually tape your stencil down too. I'll do it the first time, but I probably won't need to do this going forward. I'm just going to hold it in place. But if it makes it easier for you, you can do that. All right, so we're going to start with the Balmy Blue. And I am going to use a lighter brush. Go ahead and get that tapped off. And then I am going to still hold it a little bit just so that I've got good control, and we'll get that first layer down. And I can make it as light or as dark as I want. So if I felt the need to bring in some additional color, I would just go back to my ink and add a little bit more color to it. Okay, so there's that one. So I can pull this one off. Pretty. And then let me see, number 2 is going to line up right here. See how it lines up right there with that V? I'm also double checking here. So between the two of them, it's kind of interesting. I feel like, yep, it lined up. Okay. So go ahead and put this back down again. And this time I'm going to use Misty Moonlight. And let me see, I'm trying to decide. I don't think I'm going to utilize this brush. I'm going to go to a darker brush here, and I'm just going to double check. I've got my paper towel here. There's hardly any ink left on that, so we're going to do Misty Moonlight. Load that brush up, tap it off. That's a dark color. All right, so I'm going to go light with this. And I think I'm going to not add any additional color. So we've got that. We'll pull this off. Whoops, let me move this out of the way. There we go. so fun. This is my favorite part, is the lifting to see what it looks like after I've done it. Okay, so now we're moving to Night of Navy, and I'm going to use this same brush for the Night of Navy. So let me bring in number 3. Okay, we'll get this lined up here with my there we go, lined up with my diamond. These down. I am going to take off a little bit of this ink. Not bad, there wasn't much left. And then go ahead and do my Night of Navy. So we'll get that, tap that off. Look how dark that is. Okay, I'm going to start off, and then I can just very gently bring that color in. Make sure I'm getting all my areas, because my stencil or my mask actually kind of comes off the paper. So we've got this one. Oh, I love that. Isn't that pretty? All right, one more mask. We are going to move to Secret Sea, my favorite blue. All right, and it's so dark, but it's so pretty. Okay, so I'm going to go with a darker brush, and let me get this lined up first before I... Okay, let's see here. Get my V lined up. Make sure I've got it twisted appropriately. I think, does that get it? I'm also looking here to make sure everything lines up. I think I've got it. So we'll go ahead and do this. Look how dark that is. Yikes. Okay, here we go. Starting off, and we'll bring it in. I'm thinking just a little bit more, just a little bit more. I want that to be really dark. Okay, did I get it all? I think I did. All right, so I'm gonna move this off to the side. Move these out of the way, pull this up. And so pretty. So let me go ahead and get behind here and get this pulled up. But look how pretty that is for our snowflake. So let me move these out of the way. Move this out of the way. We are going to do a little bit of stamping yet. So I'm going to bring my silicone mat back in. We'll get this stamping done, and then we're going to do a quick clean on the stencils because I need them. Do I need them one more time? I don't think, well, hold on a second. I don't think I need them for my last card. I do not. So I will clean these after. You don't want to let them set too long, but I will wait until after class to clean those. So that's perfect. All right. I'm going to stamp a warm hello right here, and I'm going to do it in Secret Sea. So bring my Secret Sea back out. Move that out of the way. And we'll go ahead, get this inked up, and I'm going to put it right about here. Straight down. I'm going to hold it for just a second to transfer, and then up. Perfect. Love that. Okay, I'm going to clean that stamp off though. So let me get my... All right, there we go. Now we can start building this card. So first things first, I am going to bring the piece that I embossed, and I'm going to adhere it to my card base. But before I do that, I am going to incorporate some ribbon. So I've got this Misty Moonlight, really pretty ribbon. It's got a silver edge to it. I don't know if you guys can see that, but the silver edge to it. So basically what I'm going to do, I'm not doing the bow, I'm just kind of adding a little bit of interest here. So I'm going to use my ribbon snips and just snip off just an edge here. Okay, and then I'm going to bring in my Stampin' seal, and I'm going to work to get this pretty much in the center, I think. Is where I want it. I'm going to turn this over, and I'm going to use some Stampin' seal here, and fold this over to hold it. And I'm going to put some Stampin' seal here, and turn this over to hold it. So I've got my ribbon attached. Now what I can do is I can add glue to the back of this and adhere this. Let me move this stuff out of the way. Get this lined up. And then I can make sure that everything is aligned appropriately. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this layer and add it to my other layer of Misty Moonlight. So I get this adhered. And line that up. I'm going to scooch it around because it's just got a very fine border to it. Okay. There we go. Okay, and then we're going to put this on with dimensionals. So I need to find my dimensionals. And I'll go ahead and get these down. So while I'm doing this, we did do a river cruise and we went up the Danube, and one of the things that, I don't know, I've never done a river cruise before, so this was really interesting. They have locks all along the river. We did go some distance, but I think we probably went through a good 20 locks in the 5 days that we were cruising. And it just, you go through these locks because you've got differences in elevation, and then sometimes, you know, there's like rapids and things like that in the river. And so they send you through these locks, and it's interesting. I need to probably do a little bit more research to understand, but we would go into these locks, and they would take the boat down, and so we would watch this wall rise up along the side of us as they were taking it down, and then we'd move forward just a tad, and then they would add water, and it would raise us back up again. I'm going to add some of these rhinestone basic jewels to add some sparkle to this. But it was really very interesting. And especially at night when I would wake up, because again, I was dealing with jet lag and trying to get adjusted. And I would look out the window to see if we were moving, and we wouldn't be moving because we would be in a lock, and all I would see is a concrete wall. And the first night it happened to me, it was a little, you almost like you're dreaming or something. What's going on? Because it's just a concrete wall, and that wall is like right up next to the boat. I don't think there's room to put your fingers in between the two of them. They are amazing when they're actually doing this. But anyway, long story short, it was a fun trip, and the locks were very, very interesting. Okay, so now we have card number 2 done. Isn't that pretty? I love that blue. All right, so let's move on to card number 3. Let me show you what it looks like. This is a fun little card that I didn't do any stenciling on it, but I'll show you I did do a little bit of inking. So in this kit, we have the card base, basic white. Then I was using basic beige for one layer, and then I have my crumb cake that I actually went ahead and die cut. Because what I want to do is I want to show you how we go from this card base to having a snowflake that looks like a snowflake. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and fold this in half. And then I'm gonna find the die that I need. And I believe it's gonna be this one, I believe. Let me make sure, excuse me. Yeah, it's this one. Okay, so what I need to do is I'm going to align this. Let's see how I did this. I think I did it. Let me look. I think I did it so that I have to turn this over. So we're gonna basically, yeah. See how I've got this off the top? So I'm gonna take my tape and I am going to tape this down. And this is just big enough that it won't go through my mini cut and emboss. So I had to bring over the big cut and emboss. Let me move this stuff out of the way so we can get to this. But basically, we're going to use the big cut and emboss. Let me move this stuff out of the way. And I've got my platform. Make sure I don't drop anything because I've got lots of stuff around. I've got my platform here. We're going to do this basically the same way that we did the, well, actually, I think we're going to be okay. I don't have to have it hang over because I've got it hanging off the top. So I can go ahead and run this through. This is going to cut, but it's not going to cut my paper. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and put this in and crank it through. And I'm gonna do it a couple times because it's cutting through 2 pieces of paper. And so I want to make sure that I'm able to get this cut all the way through. So we'll crank it back out. And I'm gonna double check it just to make sure we got it. And yes, we got it. All right, let me move this out of the way. This card is gonna go together very quickly. That out of the way. Now what I can do is I can take the die off. I'm being careful with my tape just because I don't want to tear my cardstock. And when you run it through several times, it really puts pressure on the tape as well. So I'm not really worried about the outer edges because I'm not going to be using the outer edges. All right, let's get this one off. All right, so there we go. We've got it. I'm actually going to be, this is it feels like some adhesive. So I'm going to use my adhesive eraser and just remove that adhesive that we've got here. But it's going to be covered up anyway, because now what I'm going to do, you see we've got our fold, okay? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to line this piece up with it so that we have our snowflake. But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get this piece on. And so I'm looking to see how I want to line this up. Here, maybe like so. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring in my silicone mat. And we're just going to do little glue dots. So it doesn't take a lot of glue. I don't want a lot of glue squirting out. So I'm just going to do little glue dots all around the edges of this so that it gets adhered, but I don't have a ton of glue on it. You don't need a ton of glue, just enough to adhere it down. I think that's probably the biggest mistake that new card makers tend to make is if they haven't figured out how to use the oh gosh, the Stampin seal, they get frustrated with the tape. They want to use the glue, which is great. Glue is my preference. That being said, you have to learn that you don't need very much glue. It's not necessary. So they get frustrated because they can't get the tape dispenser to work, but they also get frustrated because they end up using too much glue. And you can see I hardly have any glue on here, just enough to be able to hold it in place. So I'm going to pick this up and I'm going to bring it back in and I'm going to try to get this centered up. And the thing of it is when you use a little bit of glue, the one thing that I have learned is that you don't have as much flexibility with it because it's so thin, it doesn't really it doesn't really slide around. So when I'm gluing my card bases and such down, I will do just a little bit more glue because I'm doing a card base and I want to make sure that I've got a little bit of wiggle room. And the only way I'm going to get wiggle room is if I am utilizing a bit more glue. So what I was doing is I was double checking to see where this was going to line up so that I know where I don't want to put glue. So I'm not going to put glue at the top here. I'm going to start right about here and I'm going to work my way down. And this, I don't have to wiggle it around per se because I should be able to just get it to line up right with the edges. I might have to do a little bit, but I'm just lining it up with the edges. So okay, there you go. Hi, Mom. I'm glad you're able to join us. All right, so there's our card. Now, what I had fun doing is I really blinged this card up. This card it just was screaming for bling. And so basically I got out my rhinestones and I just started adding rhinestones all over. I actually am going to use my tip because I think that's going to be easier for me. You can use as many or as little. I'm going to actually use a few less than I used last time just so that I can show you the difference. But I'm going to skip every other one where on mine, and I'll show you here in a second, but I did everyone. So now I'm going to skip every other one, and I hope that's going to work. What I mean by that is, do I have an even number? If it's an odd number, it's not going to work. No, it works perfect. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one and I'm going to put it here in the center, and then I potentially could, instead of putting them in the centers, I'm going to put them right here. And I'll show you. It's so fun. You can do it however you choose to do it. I'm going to do this one up differently. So this card is going to be different than the original one that I made. But I'll show you the difference in the two. So I'm going to get more bling here and then another one here. And this card is done. Look how pretty that is. And then you can create your own envelope for this. It will fit into a regular envelope. You can put your little message inside, but you can, oh, you know what I didn't do? I was going to show you guys how to do this. Okay, we'll do it real quick. And we can still do it. Before, I would recommend that you do it before you actually adhere it to your card base, but this is going to work. I'm using crumb cake because my piece is crumb cake, but basically what you can do, maybe I'll just show you guys how I did it. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to just show you how I did it because I can show you the difference between the two and then you can decide which one you like best. What I did is I took a dauber and I tapped it into my crumb cake and I just inked the edges of my snowflake. I did this before I actually added it to my card base, but I inked the edges and that just added, for me, it just added a little bit of dimension. So you can see how that just kind of, inking the edges added a little bit of dimension to this snowflake. Where on this particular one, I did not ink the edges, and you can decide which one you like better. Also with this one, I did rhinestones on every little point. I did every other point on this one. And instead of doing the centers like I did on this one, I skipped the centers and I did where they connected. So two totally different cards. I think they're both pretty and I love the sparkle. Love the sparkle. All right, so let me get this cleaned up so that I can bring the cards back in so you can see them. So this is the one that we did where we did not do any masking with it, but we created our snowflake cards. Then I have the blue that we did. You can see I used heavier hands on this one versus this one. So we've got that. In fact, it looks like there was another stencil that maybe I missed. I didn't get all my stencils in, it looks like. But that's okay. They're all different, right? Oh, you know what? The reason this one looks different, oh my goodness, guys. It's all coming back to me now. The reason this one looks different is because I actually stamped it first. I used a Secret Sea ink and stamped it. I did not stamp this one. Just totally forgot. But I like this one too. So actually, even though this was a mess up on my part, it actually was a good mess up, because you guys can then see the difference between whether or not you want to stamp your snowflake and then stencil it, or not stencil it, or not stamp it and stencil it. They're both pretty. They're both pretty. I like them both. Okay, so there's that one. And then this one we've got, I did not stamp it, I just stenciled it, but look how pretty that is. I love this coloring on it. So this again was the Snowy Delights bundle, and we didn't use any designer series paper. All of the paper was just cardstock that we created our own designs on. But this is a great winter stamp set. And in fact, sending you joy with many delights, a winter wish for snowy delights, or a winter wish for snowy delights with family, friends, and long peaceful nights, a warm hello, joy to the world. So anyway, I'm going to come back to you here and just say thank you for joining me. I'm so glad to be back. I had a great trip, but I missed all of you guys, and just crafting. I've been down here crafting the last 2 days just because I missed it. So I'm in my happy place. Anyway, thank you again. Remember, this is a to-go class. If you need information, it's on my website at aprildaviscreations.com. Right here, I just brought it up. And remember, when you place an order in my online store, you can get the kit for free, or you can purchase the kit. The information's in there. But I will send you the kit so that you can make 2 of each card. So you're making 6 cards. All right. Thank you so much for joining me. I can't believe next week is Christmas week. Is that right? Oh my goodness. But I will be here on Tuesday. So we'll see you again next week. Take care, everyone. Bye.